Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
It was a bit of a relief in the sense of I was like, oh yeah, someone actually understands why I am the way I am. But the other problem that came with that was it felt like someone had just ripped open this big wound that I've been trying to hide from ages. It's like I've got this big hole in my heart and I'm trying to hide it, and someone's just came and just stuck that fucking hand right into it.
Content warning. This podcast contains discussions of murder, racism and suicide, which some listeners may find upsetting. My name is Halina Rafai and this is the A Sonic Hug podcast. Over the coming months and episodes, you will hear the voices of people from different walks of life who deal, experience and battle mental health issues. In this podcast, I spoke to Jubemi about his journey so far. We got to know each other initially through his music, and through a mutual friend I was told about his mental health struggles. This is one of the most powerful stories you will hear. Jubemi's experiences with grief, a relative's murder, racism, bullying, depression and more show the extremes of what some people experience in their life. This is Jubemi's story.
It's called Jubemi Ayeku. I'm a 26-year-old man who's based in the south side of Glasgow. I'm a jeweler by day and a rapper by night. In the mental health side of things, I currently suffer from a depression and, well, severe depression and anxiety at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And it was something that took me a long time to let a grip of, if that makes any sense. Like, it was just one of those things that was always kind of there, but I never really knew what it was or never really understood what it was and why I was feeling the way I was feeling. That's the one that I deal with on a daily basis. By talking to a few people, like, I kind of went off the rails 2-3 years ago, and I went off the rails. Like, it was like bad, like really bad, like not sleeping, just going out drinking, doing things that I shouldn't be doing, like just pure running myself into the absolute ground. Like, and I spoke to some close friends of mine, and they were like really worried about me and worried about my well-being and my state, and they told me to go seek help. And it wasn't until I kind of explained it to them and explained to my GP about like not being able to get out of bed, like literally staying in my bed for like morning till night, not eating, you know, like just all of that stuff there. Then everyone was like, yo, I think you've got like some crazy ass depression. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's how it kind of came about. And I seeked help in with like I said, all the doctors and stuff. But like at the current moment in time, I'm doing counselling as well, and that kind of just brought everything to light and made me realize, yeah, that I do have some issues that need to be dealt with. My story is a bit of a mad one, or to be honest, because everything starts from, I would say, from birth, from when I was a child. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, I lost my mother when I was a very, very young child, like about 4, 5, 3, like, yeah. So it's so weird because I didn't, like, I can't say that I know my mom, you know, so, but growing up, I never realized how much of an effect that had on me. And from then on, you know, I went from staying in Nigeria to staying in London. And then obviously London in itself is a whole load of hassle, because, you know, you end up in a different situations, you know, like getting bullied in school because your mum and dad, well, my stepmom at the time and my dad couldn't afford to put me in a best of clothes, you know, that all my other friends were, you know. And all of that, again, subconsciously, like talking in hindsight, I never knew had as much of an effect on me as what it did, and then I've lost like my grandmother, my brother got killed, a lot of people that I know have died, and then and this all happened before me even being 16, and then my dad sent me away to stay in Scotland at the age of 14 without kind of really any kind of like heads up or nothing. And yeah, and that isolation and that separation from your family, again, I was like, oh, it is what it is. But you don't again realize the trauma it causes. And I moved to a place called Stranraer, and yeah, I got a lot of like racial abuse and everything like that. And I just brushed it off because my dad had always said to me two things like, if something doesn't physically hurt you, then don't cry about it. And like whenever someone calls you a racial name, like that's not the name you were given at what's called given at birth, so you shouldn't let it affect you. So I just learned to just kind of just get on with it. I moved up to Stranraer when I was 14, and it wasn't by choice. So it was one of them things where my auntie, so my dad's sister, she already stayed in Stranraer, and after everything kind of happened, she was also like a kind of motherly figure. So I would always come to Scotland. Like I used to remember sitting on the coach like from London to Scotland, and it's like 11 hours long. Do you know what I mean? And I used to make that trip, come up and see her, and it was great. And one year I came up and I never went back, and that for me was probably the toughest part of it. It wasn't the idea of being in thingy because that just left a sour taste in my mouth because I already resented it just for the fact that I never knew that it was happening and it happened. So I never got a chance to say like goodbye to my friends and like my family, like my brother. So like you know what I mean? It was just one minute I was living in London, the next minute I'm starting school in Stranraer Academy, and that in itself made my start in Scotland a horrible one because it was just filled with just pure anger and resentment. Like it was like, fuck this place, fuck this situation. I don't want to be here. I want to be with my family. Yeah, so it was tough, and I remember going to school and like I just used to have my hood up all the time. Like I wasn't really trying to make friends with anybody. I wasn't really trying to talk too much to anybody. It was just a case of just me. You know what I mean? I'm here and I'm just gonna just get on with it. Like I was getting in trouble with teachers for just being a fucking dick. Like and then a lot of issues came with that because like so my name's Jubemi and a lot of people couldn't pronounce that. So I had to use my English name, which is Jude, and that was another kind of issue within me because it was like a conflicting battle between, the person that I am, which was Ojibemi, and the person that I had to be now staying in Scotland, which is Jude. But in hindsight, looking back, like it was crazy. Like the racism I dealt with at the school, with the other kind of like mixed race guys who were there as well, was just nuts. Do you know what I mean? And and just like the passive aggressiveness of being black. Like I remember when I first started all the school, and there were like rumors going about that I'd killed someone, that I was like a big drug dealer, like I was this, I was that, and I'm like, see at that time I didn't really think much of it, but see now when I'm looking back on it, I'm like, yo, I was fucking 14, like like I know I was getting up to no good and stuff like in London, but like for you guys to be out here thinking that I was like Pablo Escobar or something, like make it make sense. Do you know what I mean? And the way people looked at me and acted towards me was completely different as to what they would do the white peers. Now I'm not saying that everyone in Stranraer was racist, because if I was saying that it's just a lie. Because I've still got some good friends there who made my stay and my growing up in Stranraer just that bit bearable. Do you know what I mean? But it was something that was there and was very, very like triggering. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't until, like I said, I have my breakdown and you start talking about these things that you realize that a lot of the issues that I face right now as an adult stems from not dealing with XYZ problems that I faced growing up as a child. My grandmother was like like she became the mum. She took that responsibility to make sure that myself and my brothers and my sisters didn't feel that kind of loss of not having a woman in our lives. So she essentially became my mom, and became the woman that I would go to for everything. Like when I remember just being like a little child and getting in trouble with my dad, and she was always there to have my back and just be like, "Yo, leave him alone." Do you know what I mean? Like, leave the little man alone. And she always had our backs, and that's why again her passing was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like, Jesus, man, you know what I mean? Another loss, like, yo. Like I said earlier on, I'm from London. Well, grew up in London, and in London, unfortunately, when I was growing up, it wasn't as gentrified as what it is now. It wasn't as nice a place as everyone thinks it is. And I grew up in Camberwell, right near Peckham and stuff, and there was just always problems. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, like I can sit here and say to you that my older brother Jerry, he was the nicest guy ever. Like to me, he was my idol. Basically, he was the because I've got two other brothers, but me and Jerry he was the one I kind of looked up to, and as well as like Daniel as well. Unfortunately, like I'd moved up to Scotland at this time, so yeah, it was before. I think I was just 16, 17, and yeah, and I just got a phone call one day, and it was to say that my brother had been stabbed and killed. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, it was a heartbreaking moment, and all I knew was that. But over the next few months, it would come to light that it was due to a disagreement with another guy, and he was in the bookies, and 8 guys ran into the bookies, and yeah, he tried to fight them off, and unfortunately, he got stabbed. He got stabbed in the arm, the back, and one stabbed him in the chest, and it pierced his heart, and that's what killed him. Like I say this to my close friends and people, I'm like, I am literally like the guy who gets like the worst luck, like in the whole world. Like I genuinely just feel it comes to a point where when so many things happen, you just end up looking and being like when is my luck gonna change? Like because this life is tough. Do you know what I mean? Like when you just get hit with one thing after another, after another, after another, and it's like as soon as you start to kind of get yourself back up, boom, you get dealt with another hit, and then you're like, right, cool. You go back down and you're like, I can't stay down. And as soon as you try to get back up again, it's like another one. And I'm lucky enough, well, I won't say lucky, but yeah, I guess I'm lucky enough that I do have a bit of faith in God, and I do believe that things that I go through in life, there's like it's a test, and I feel like I wouldn't be put through something that I couldn't deal with, and that's the mentality that I've always kind of had. Which, again, if you tie that into being told that if something doesn't hurt you physically, then you can't cry about it, or you can't really bother, like it doesn't really bother you, you just keep moving. When you tie that in, you end up caught in this bubble, like say, that you're untouchable. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing can hurt you, or my mental health is suffering. I know it's suffering, but you know what? As long as I'm still smiling and I'm still alive, then it's all good. When really the harsh reality is, it really isn't. So when I do have these episodes, like or before, I would just sweep them under the rug and just be like, it's not even happening. Or I'd go out and like drink so much and like do stuff that I shouldn't do, and just mask and hide behind these things. But now it's like I'm grateful that I've managed to learn to understand what it is that I feel, and find different ways to actually cope with it. So when I am having an episode, I know, me going out and drinking until 10 o'clock the next day isn't really going to make me feel any better. It's just going to mask it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just finding these wee triggers and trying to avoid them as well. The incident that happened when I knew that I had a problem and I knew I needed help was, so I just split up from my girlfriend for 4 years, and yeah, I went on on a bender. Like, that's like the only way I can describe it. And I went on a crazy bender, like for like 5 6 days straight away, like no days off, like no sleeping, just going out, getting on it, filling myself up with shitload of drugs and alcohol, and then going home, sleeping for 2 hours, getting back up, getting something to eat, getting showered, and going back out and just. And at first, it seems like it was good, but then see by the sixth night, yeah, yeah, I ended up in a really horrible state. Like, and that was when, like, my friends and the people close to me were like, "Yo, like, bro, we are genuinely worried for you because this isn't like you. It's out of character for you to go this hard." But yeah, I was shocked. I was scared, and again, I didn't really want to deal with any emotions that I was feeling. So the best way for me to do that was to just immerse myself in just this destructive lifestyle. And you know, when I did start to feel something, I'd drink more Mad Dog or drink more vodka or take another line just to just numb every single bit of feeling that was even there within me. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, and unfortunately, it did take its toll. And yeah, I'm grateful that my body was able to physically heal from it, but mentally, I still feel like it's played a big part in why I am still the way I am today. The relationship with me and her was was a weird one because it was beautiful. It was nice. It was caring. And it was just something that I craved for, because I always say to everybody, she was the girl who taught me how to love women in that way, if that makes any sense. Like I'd always, fancied women or thought that I was in love with women, or like, that way of growing up and there's like a girl and you're like, oh, I pure love you, but really it's not love. You just have a crush on them. But like with her, it was the genuine first time that I felt love and I felt comfort. And again, it wasn't until I started all talking again to my counselor that it kind of ties in with, the idea of like not having a strong presence of a woman in my life at that point in time, and it was something that I craved. And I found my pleasure and my comfort and my sounds weird, like my motherly figure in her, and it was good, it was great. No, but when it was bad, like it was real bad, and it just got to a point where after the 4 years, like I was just like, I'm tired of, you know, making changes to myself to suit as person. And the worst thing about that is, see, the changes, well, some of the changes, not actually, a majority of the changes that I made were actually positive changes, but at that point in time, I just couldn't see it. All I could see was me changing myself to suit somebody else, and I just didn't like it because that person wouldn't change to suit me, and they were dead set on their ways. So it ended up being the thing that made me fall in love with her that ended up making me split up with her. So yeah, so with me expecting a child like my daughter, it's a thought that goes through my mind in regards to like being able to provide the world to her, being able to hide her from the wickedness of this world. Do you know what I mean? it's also the motivation that kind of just keeps me going every single day, because at the end of the day, like, even though I'm not with the mother anymore due to choices that were made, uh, like, they both are still a priority to me right now, and my daughter being the biggest priority, and it's just gave me that bit of a drive to just get what I need to do done, and just keep pushing and just keep pushing, because, like, I was speaking to one of my friends about it, and when the situation was like really, really, really bad, I was like, yo, like would life be easier if I wasn't here? Does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't have to deal with all this nonsense that's going on. And then a part of me was like, I thought about it after I spoke to my friend, and I was like, yo, I know what it's like to grow up in a life where my father didn't play much of a fatherly role to me, and also grow up in a world where I was missing uh, a parent, as in my mother, and I know how much that has affected me, and how much trauma and problem that's caused me subconsciously as well. So the idea of doing that to my daughter is just something that I cannot do, and that's the saving grace, I guess, because I know now I need to be here for her, and so she doesn't go through somewhat similar situations that I went through growing up as a child. So faith is something that's been instilled in me from a young child. Like my family are religious. Like, it's just something that is just we've just always had. But see, when times are going tough, like when life is just booting me in the face, left, right, and center, I do find myself just like, I'll phone my sister, and she's very religious as well, and she'll do some fasting and pray, and then and just give me Bible scriptures to read. And for me, it just brings a certain comfort knowing that I can pray, to God. Now, whether people believe in God or not, like, that's a completely different story. But there's just something that's so comforting when I'm on my knees, and I'm just letting out what I feel and how I feel. And I don't know, in that moment of time, there's just this calming spirit, that feeling, I guess, that just calms me down, and it's like, everything will be okay. Like, just keep going, just keep going. So it's great. It's good for that, but also for me, like, I do have some, like, really, really, really good people around me. Like, one of my friends, she'd every once in a while, when life is going really, 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 really tough, like, I text her and I just say to her, look, I just need you to tell me that everything's gonna be okay. If you tell me everything's gonna be okay, I know I've got this. And she'll just text me back saying, look, everything will be okay. Let's get it. And it's just those kind of little things that just keep me going, and just keep me ticking, and just keep me fighting through the battles that I face. I decided to start doing counseling during lockdown, and it was because through lockdown, like I just felt myself going back to just being this person who just sat and drank literally every single day. Like I just got drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk and drunk, and I done that for a month solid, and I just felt that I needed help. I needed to deal with these issues that I was trying to run from again, because lockdown was very, very tough. Like, being in a house by myself, well, not by myself, with my then partner, but she was working as well. So yeah, I just had a lot of time to kill, and I thought it was a holiday. But once that holiday spirit left, it was just dealing with just being in my head and dealing with all these problems. And just as I was going through that, I had came so I'd done work for a men's charity called Brothers in Arms, and they had shared a guy who had retweeted saying that he was going to offer free therapy sessions to anyone who needed it through lockdown, and I I just reached out to him and I said to him, I was like, my problems that I'm facing aren't from lockdown, but lockdown has made me realize how much these problems affect me. Would you be able to help? And he was like, yeah, of course. Like, and I remember my first session, and I just told him straight. I was like, we need to go in. Like I don't want to beat around the bush. I just want to be able to. If I can't trust you to tell you about my deepest, darkest secrets, then there's no point in us having this. And after the first session, when I tell you that I have never cried so much in my life, like I felt like a, that way, like ugly crying, like, and I mean like snot coming out your nose, like like you cry so much you've got a headache. Like I was just lying in my bed and I'm just like, yo, like, and I remember texting my counselor and I'm like, that was exhausting. Like physically I can't move, mentally I'm drained. Like what the hell, And but after the back of that, and obviously after more and more and more sessions, it got easier to be able to open up and express how I feel and accept that, being sad is nothing to be embarrassed of or shy of. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a genuine, genuine feeling that everybody feels, and that was something that I found peace and comfort in with therapy. It was just to be able to say, oh yeah, okay, this is actually all right. I can actually talk about this. Like I can express myself in a positive way. Being able to like speak to someone about the problems that I was feeling and the problems that I was going through, it was a bit of a relief in the sense of I was like, oh yeah, someone actually understands why I am the way I am. But the other problem that came with that was it felt like someone had just ripped open this big wound that I've been trying to hide from ages. It's like I've got this big hole in my heart and I'm trying to hide it, and someone's just came and just stuck the fucking hand right into it. Do you know what I mean? And just ripped it open again, And it was having to go through those traumas that I had suppressed for so long. So it was a bittersweet moment because I felt relief because I'd spoke about it, but I was raging because it just brought all this stuff back to the surface again. And this time round, I couldn't just go about life being like, yeah, whatever. It was like in my face and I couldn't run away from it and I had to deal with it. And that for me was the toughest part. For me as a child, the kind of help that I would say I needed just couldn't have ever been provided. Does that make sense? Like, so I come from a Nigerian family, like a proper African rooted family, and the idea of mental health is just something that that nobody believes in. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could never have went to my dad and said, "Yo, I'm depressed because of X, Y, Z." You know what I mean? Because he would probably just be like, "What the fuck you talking about?" Do you know what I mean? So as a child, the support that I would have said I needed, it just couldn't have happened because it wasn't support that I needed. I just needed love from my mum. Do you know what I mean? I just needed love from my gran. I just needed love from my brother. Like, I just needed to not have been sent to Scotland. Does that make sense? No, I'm not saying that if all of these things happened, I would be a happy boy, because if all of these things happened, I don't know what other scenarios God would have flung at me or whatever situations that I would have been in. But obviously, in hindsight, when I look back and all the problems that I've had now, I'm like, if I didn't go through any of those things, then yeah, I'd be better. Does that make sense? And maybe I guess I did feel loved, but my love was felt from, like, again, my brother Jerry. Words can't even begin to describe how much love I had for that guy and how much love that guy had for me. Because like, I remember when I first moved to Scotland, I never had any friends. He made sure he phoned me every week, week in, week out, and he bought me my first Xbox, so I had something in the house to play. Do you know what I mean? Like so, yeah. I guess or to just have been loved and felt wanted growing up, because now I feel like as an adult, that's all I crave for. Like, I just craved that. Well, right up until I started dealing with the issues, there was just a part of me that craved being loved and being wanted and being accepted. See if I could go back and speak to my 14-year-old self. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of things I would say to him, man. There's a lot of things, and the first thing I would say would be, don't crumble. Don't change who you are just to suit these people. These people not being able to pronounce your name or Jubemi, well, that's their problem, and they should learn, rather than, you know what, I'm just going to change it to my English name to make life easier for them. The passive aggressiveness that you just let go by, don't. Be more vocal and let people know that they can't go about and treat you like this and treat you like that. You know what I mean? And they can't go about saying this and saying that because they knew that you would just brush it off and just smile it off and let it go, So that's one of the few things. And the other thing that I would say to that 14-year-old boy is to seek love from within. And I feel like at that age, when I realized that I wasn't going back home to my family as such, like my immediate family, and I was here, that should have been the time period where I learned to be okay, and I learned to love myself, and I learned to be selfish with my feelings, and be protective of me as a person, and I never done that. And again, it's led to a lot of things happening to me now, and so I would say to him, just learn to love yourself and realize that in this world, no one can give you happiness apart from you. See if there's anybody in this world who, or anyone who's listening to this, to be able to open up and say, look at me, I am vulnerable and I need help. That takes a lot to do, and I just hope that someone hears these words and realizes that it isn't the end, and we just have to just keep going, no matter how shit life is, no matter how horrible the situations you go through is. There's just always that reason to go, and it's a tough lesson that I had to learn, and I wish I learned that sooner, and I wish I had someone tell me that sooner, because I wouldn't again be in a lot of the situations that I'm in right now, So the only advice I can give is, please, man, just get help. Speak to your friends. Speak to the people around you. Speak to the people that genuinely care for you, and just let them know how you feel. And it is okay to feel that way. It is okay to feel sad. It is okay to feel depressed. It is okay to feel anxious. It's just normal human feelings. And don't shy away from them. Just learn how to understand them, understand why you feel depressed, understand why you feel anxious, and deal with the problems accordingly where possible.
Remember more, improve your focus, and multitask better. Hum is a brain sharpener that helps you do all three. Hum's wearable boosts your working memory and will be available in late 2021. Sign up to be notified when Hum launches and to learn more about the science behind Hum at thinkhum.com. That's thinkhum.com. Hum is designed for healthy adults and should not be used if you're pregnant, have cognitive impairment, implanted devices, or a history of seizures. The Hum patch is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. To learn more, go to thinkhum.com.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
That was Jubemi's story. I think we often can't let it fully sink in that children go through horrendously difficult times until we are shown them or relayed them. It sometimes doesn't resonate unless it's someone you know or have been in contact with. The timeline of Jubemi's life from around 4 years to 16 years is in itself something I find hard to comprehend. Having lost his mother, moved to London from Nigeria, experienced poverty and bullying, the death of his grandmother, being moved to Scotland with no warning, the murder of his brother, prevalent racism and more is far beyond what he mentions as a test. 12 years of his life have been impacted, and those 12 years are some of the most important in a child's growth and entrance to this world. You can hear strong feelings of abandonment here, but what I didn't ask Jubemi is whether his father moved him to Scotland for perhaps what he felt would be a better life. Part of me holds on to that hope. This doesn't take away from issues with communication. There's this continuous theme of adults not speaking to children, not explaining things to them. They often instruct, enforce and inflict their beliefs and wants onto them, but we need to place them more on our level. We need to ask them more about their feelings, explain the things that are happening to them and surround them with love and respect. When Jubemi's father said to him when he was younger, if something doesn't physically hurt you, you don't cry about it, is another theme that floods through, particularly when it comes to men, mental health and how they deal with life. There is no full understanding that as a child, we hold such tremendous respect for the figures that bring us into this world. We are willing to apply anything they say to our lives and continue to live by them. I'm glad that Jubemi realises that you can cry about things you have a right to, and it doesn't just come from physical pain. Death has been so prevalent in his life. Key figures who perhaps represent the role models he has craved in a traditional family unit have been taken away. His grandmother, who is a mother figure, and his older brother, who perhaps was like a father figure. And to have his brother taken before his time is completely crushing. For one of the most important people in his life to be taken by another group of humans is abhorrent and an evil act. The fondness that he still has for both of these people is something I hope carries him through as his life continues. It's clear that he remembers the positives they both brought to his life. It's been one hurdle after another. The dramatic shift of his life from London to Scotland must have brought feelings of fear, the previously mentioned abandonment, worthlessness, shame and subsequent anger. None of these are his fault. He was a small boy. His innocence had already been deeply affected, and to be put into an environment where people judged, bullied and used his skin colour as a means to target is utterly devastating. It's the sheer lack of understanding the differences in this world that lead to fear and persecution, but to inflict that on a child? His most recent relationship has ended, and it's heartbreaking to hear of another relationship being removed, especially one that brought comfort and safety. But more importantly, the realisation that love does continue to exist and can come into our lives at any point in ways we have not experienced. His further realisation that he wants to give his unborn daughter everything he has is something I am sure will be the making of him. The importance of charities, including Brothers in Arms, who are mentioned, but also the counselling that he received, is something that should be available to everyone. The impact of the current pandemic and lockdown has held a new magnifying glass over us all. For many, the issues and experiences we have pushed down are coming to the fore, and Jubemi's story is another example. As he says, it was the toughest thing to face in even starting counselling, but many of us know the toughest things can be the most rewarding. Faith is something I haven't really experienced when it comes in the religious context. As a non-believer, I've always tried to keep my distance, but hearing him speak about the hope it brings to him makes it feel like something that is a lifeline for many. This is the first time I have addressed someone directly on a podcast, and I felt it important with this one. Love will come back into your life, Jubemi. It may come in different ways. It will explode with your daughter, and it will be unconditional. As you have mentioned though, love for yourself is important, and people know that you deserve that and more. Your friends' love for you is another thing to keep a strong hold of. My wish for you is to understand that you will now bring the greatest strength to others by telling your story, including bringing that strength to me. By showing your vulnerability, by being so open and honest, that will save people, and that is a love I hope helps heal that hole in your heart that has been open for so long. If you have experienced or experiencing anything described in this episode, you will find support information in the text with this podcast. A Sonic Hug podcast is recorded, produced and edited by me, Halina Rafai. We are also part of Scotland's podcasting network, The Big Light. Until next time, deep breaths.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.